Hey everyone, Gabriel here, and welcome back to Money Magnet Minds. I want you to picture a guy who parks his 2011 Honda Civic in the exact same corporate parking lot every single morning. It has faded paint, a small dent on the rear bumper, and there is absolutely nothing special about it. If you walked past this guy, you would probably assume he's struggling. His coworkers certainly do. They assume he's living paycheck to paycheck, perhaps one emergency away from real financial trouble. What they don't know is that he has $4.2 million sitting in index funds. His house is completely paid off, his kids' college funds are fully funded, and he could literally retire tomorrow if he wanted to. He chooses that older Civic on purpose. Now, contrast him with the person pulling up next to him in the brand new, base model BMW. They might look like they own the world, but there's a very real chance they have exactly $47 in their checking account. Welcome to the era of the fake rich, where the disconnect between what people actually have and what they're willing to spend to look wealthy has never been wider. Today on Money Magnet Minds, we are going to completely dismantle the automotive wealth trap. Americans currently owe a staggering $1.655 trillion in auto loan debt. The average monthly payment on a new vehicle hit $772 in late 2025. According to Edmunds data, over 20% of new car buyers are now committing to payments exceeding $1,000 per month. We have fundamentally forgotten that a car is a utility designed to get you from point A to point B, not a rolling billboard for your financial insecurities. Stay with me because today I'm going to teach you the 5-year car rule. It's an unsexy, boring strategy that will allow you to beat dealerships at their own game, recycle your cash, and quietly build a 6-figure investment portfolio while your neighbors are drowning in debt. The fake rich epidemic and the entry-level luxury trap. Before we get into the math, we have to talk about the psychology of why so many smart people make terrible decisions on dealership lots. It all starts with the entry-level luxury trap. Walk through any parking lot and you will spot this immediately. A bare-bones Mercedes with manual seats and zero navigation, or an Audi with the smallest engine option and absolutely no upgrades. People buy the cheapest version of the most expensive brand because they want the badge without the budget. Manufacturers know exactly what's happening. They know people want the emblem on the hood more than they want the actual driving experience. Here is the brutal irony. A fully loaded Honda Accord costs roughly the same as a base model luxury sedan. The Honda has better features, a more comfortable interior, superior reliability, and significantly lower maintenance costs. But the person chasing status doesn't want a reliable Honda. They want strangers at a stoplight to see the 3-pointed star or the 4 rings. According to an Experian automotive study, 61% of people earning over $250,000 drive Hondas, Toyotas, or Fords, regular cars that blend into any parking lot in America. Meanwhile, 8% of people earning under $100,000 own luxury vehicles. They are spending $60,000 on cars while making $50,000 a year. One group looks wealthy, the other group actually is wealthy, and these are rarely the same people. The brutal math of new car depreciation. Let's look at the math that dealerships pray you never actually sit down and calculate. The moment you drive a brand new car off the dealership lot, it loses approximately 20% of its value. Let's say you buy a new vehicle for $48,000, which is close to the average new car price today. By the time you reach the very first stoplight, $9,600 has completely evaporated. By the end of year 1, depreciation typically hits 25 to 30%. That $48,000 car is now worth between $33,000 and $36,000. In just 12 months, you have lost more money than many Americans are able to save in an entire year. If you financed most of that purchase, which the vast majority of people do, negative equity happens almost immediately. You owe more than the car is worth, trapping you in the loan and leaving you unable to sell without bringing your own cash to the table just to cover the difference. And what are you paying for this privilege? That average monthly payment of $772 translates to $9,264 annually. And that is before you even factor in insurance, premium gas, maintenance, and vehicle registration. If you're paying that on a base model Mercedes, your maintenance costs and premium gas make the math even worse. Jake versus Marcus, the great leasing illusion. Now, you might be watching this thinking, okay, buying new is a massive depreciation trap. That's exactly why I lease. Let me tell you a story about two guys, Jake and Marcus. Jake leases a car and Marcus buys the exact same car. They both earn $55,000 a year, and they both walk into the same dealership on the same day wanting a $30,000 sedan. Jake signs a 36-month lease. He puts $2,000 down at signing, and his payment is $299 a month. The salesman tells him it's a fantastic deal. He gets a brand new car, full warranty coverage, and in 3 years, he can just hand the keys back and walk away. Marcus takes out a 60-month auto loan at 6% interest. His down payment is $3,000 and his monthly payment is $522. That is $223 more than Jake every single month. On day one, Jake feels like an absolute genius. His pockets are heavier, his payment is lighter, and he drives off the lot feeling like he outsmarted the system. But there's a fundamental difference in the structure of these deals that the dealership hopes you ignore. Every dollar Marcus spends is buying him a piece of something, while every dollar Jake spends is just renting a piece of something. Fast forward to year 3. Jake's lease is up. He does what 80% of people who lease do. He leases again. New contract, another $2,000 down, another $299 a month for 36 months. He is entirely back to month 1. The odometer reads 0, but the payment counter never resets. Marcus is 36 months into his 60-month loan. It's frustrating to keep making that higher payment, but Marcus has an end date circled on the calendar. Every single payment brings him one step closer to owning the car outright. Every payment Jake makes brings him closer to giving the car back and starting over. This is the hidden psychological danger of leasing. It normalizes a permanent car payment. It becomes background noise in your monthly budget, but background noise still costs you serious money. At month 60, Marcus makes his final payment. The car is his, title in hand, with 0 monthly payments moving forward. By the end of year 6, Jake has completed 2 full leases, spent $25,528, and owns absolutely nothing. Marcus has an effective cost of roughly $21,000 to $23,000 after subtracting the remaining asset value of his car, and has a paid-off vehicle sitting in his driveway. And we haven't even talked about the traps the dealership hides in the lease's fine print. Most standard leases come with mileage caps of 10,000 to 12,000 miles per year. Sounds fine until you realize the average American actually drives 13,500 miles a year. If you go 5,000 miles over your limit across a 3-year lease, at 15 to 25 cents a mile, you're hit with a surprise bill for up to $1,250 the moment you return the car. Then there are wear and tear, charges for simple door dings, and disposition fees of $300 to $500 just for the privilege of returning the vehicle. Over a 10-year period, repeating this cycle, Jake will spend between $45,000 and $52,000 and own 0 assets. Marcus will spend $44,000 to $48,000, including all out-of-pocket maintenance, and still own a car worth $4,000 to $6,000. Multiply that gap by the 4 or 5 cars you'll own over your adult life, and habitual leasing creates a 6-figure difference in your lifetime wealth. The 5-year car rule and the recycling effect. So, if buying new is a massive depreciation trap and leasing is a perpetual monthly payment trap, what do people with extremely high money management skills actually do? They follow the 5-year car rule. Instead of buying new, you buy a reliable 5-year-old vehicle like a Honda Accord or a Toyota Camry. A 5-year-old model typically costs somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. Why exactly 5 years? Because 5-year-old cars occupy the ultimate financial sweet spot. They have already absorbed the absolute steepest, most brutal years of depreciation, but they typically do not need major repairs yet. Modern vehicles easily and reliably run for 150,000 to 200,000 miles with just basic routine maintenance. Here is the exact strategy. You buy that reliable 5-year-old car, you drive it for 3 or 4 years, and then you strategically sell it before major repairs become likely. Because the depreciation curve flattens out significantly after year 5, the value you lose during your period of ownership is minimal. You can often sell the car for surprisingly close to what you originally paid for it. This creates what financial experts call a recycling effect. One single pool of money keeps moving from vehicle to vehicle, instead of evaporating into thin air through massive depreciation losses and dealership interest payments. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at the data. According to Ramsey Solutions' massive survey of over 10,000 millionaires, the median price millionaires actually pay for a vehicle is just $31,367. The top 3 car brands driven by millionaires in America are Toyota, Honda, and Ford, not BMW, not Mercedes. They view transportation as a basic utility, not a status symbol. The neuroscience of debt and compound growth. But here's where the neuroscience of wealth building makes this rule so powerful. People with exceptional money management skills don't just magically have more willpower than you. According to neuroscience research from Stanford, your brain is wired for immediate survival and quick dopamine hits, not for compound interest that pays out 30 years from now. If you want to build serious wealth, you cannot fight your brain's wiring. You have to work with it. The people who build wealth automate their decisions so thoroughly that they stop burning through decision fatigue. They automate the boring stuff. And part of that crucial automation is completely rejecting the debt tax. Most people view an interest rate as just a harmless number on a screen. But people who actually escape the rat race view debt as a physical threat. Studies using functional MRI scans have shown that for highly financially skilled people, debt activates the exact same neural regions associated with physical pain and threat detection. Their brains learned early on that owing money means real physiological danger. Let's look at the true opportunity cost of that $772 average new car payment. If you took that $772 a month, drove a paid-off 5-year-old Honda Civic, and invested that exact same monthly amount into an S&P 500 index fund, returning an average of 8% annually. Over 15 years, you would accumulate approximately $170,000. Let me repeat that so it sinks in. You are essentially paying $170,000 for the privilege of having a newer vehicle. Transportation gets you from point A to point B. The journey in a $4,000 Honda Civic arrives at the exact same destination as the journey in a $50,000 luxury SUV. But one person reaches that destination quietly building generational wealth, while the other reaches it actively destroying their financial future. We desperately need to reframe how we view interest payments. Every dollar you pay in interest on a depreciating asset is a dollar permanently stolen from your future self. That is what I call the debt tax. The debt tax is the compounding future value of every single dollar that leaves your account in interest payments instead of going into your investment portfolio. It is invisible, it is permanent, and it is devastating to your net worth. When you eliminate that payment, something fascinating happens to your physical brain. A 2019 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences tracked people before and after their debts were completely eliminated. Diagnosable clinical anxiety dropped by a massive 25 percentage points. But more importantly, cognitive performance measurably improved. When your brain isn't burning background energy trying to calculate how to service a $772 car payment, your cognitive resources are finally freed up for higher-order thinking, long-term career planning, and strategic decision-making. People with high money management skills also treat their future self as a real person. Studies using virtual reality at Stanford found that when people vividly interact with their 65-year-old selves, their saving behavior changes dramatically. When they skip the new car and buy the 5-year-old Honda, they aren't thinking, "I'm depriving myself today." They are thinking, "Does 65-year-old me wish I had this car or wish I had invested this instead?" Why looking poor is the ultimate flex. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But Gabriel, I work hard. I make good money. If I drive a 5-year-old Toyota, what will my friends, my coworkers, and my family think of me? This brings us to the most unsexy, counterintuitive, yet powerful financial habit of all. Looking poor is a massive strategic advantage. We live in a culture that actively encourages you to perform your wealth online. Social media algorithms have created a perverse incentive where showing off gets far more engagement than showing discipline. A video of someone spending $1,000 at the mall feels aspirational and goes viral, while a video of someone simply adding $1,000 to their emergency fund feels boring. Because of this, millions of people perform prosperity while building absolutely nothing underneath. They buy into the entry-level luxury trap just so they can have the shiny emblem on the hood. But remember the millionaire next door study. The people who actually build wealth play a completely different game. They understand that visible wealth is a trap and invisible wealth is a shield. When you look wealthy, you pay a wealth tax on almost everything. Contractors quote you higher prices the second they drive into your upscale neighborhood. Car dealers treat you differently. Warren Buffett famously noted he never worried about being overcharged because nobody knew he was wealthy. His modest appearance gave him total negotiating leverage, but it goes so much deeper than just pricing. Visible wealth attracts criminals. A joint study by Experian and the Department of Justice found that highly affluent Americans are 43% more likely to experience identity theft compared to the general population. They are specifically targeted by sophisticated whaling attacks because they broadcasted their luxury lifestyle to the world. Looking wealthy advertises exactly what you have. Looking poor protects it. Furthermore, invisible wealth protects your social relationships. When you drive an older car like that 2011 Civic, nobody expects you to pick up the expensive dinner tab. Nobody resents you for having more than them. Your friendships are authentic, based on who you actually are, not the financial status you're projecting. And psychologically, invisible wealth frees you from the exhaustion of the hedonic treadmill. The person who buys the BMW gets a dopamine thrill for a few weeks, and then it just becomes their new normal. Next year, they need a newer, flashier purchase just to feel the exact same high. The visible wealthy experience constant pressure to maintain their display. The person who buys the 5-year-old Honda opts out of the display game entirely. Their identity isn't tied to what strangers think of them at a stoplight. Instead, their profound sense of security comes from logging into their brokerage account and watching their net worth quietly compound, beating them at their own game, your actionable playbook. Escaping the high-income poverty trap requires you to separate the signal of wealth from the substance of wealth. We all absorbed unwritten rules from the culture around us about what doing well is supposed to look like. But every generation has outliers, people who saw the trap and quietly stepped right around it. They decided consciously that they were willing to look significantly less wealthy than they actually were so that their actual wealth could grow much faster. They delayed the costume. So here is your actionable playbook to implement the 5-year car rule and beat the dealership industry at their own game. Step 1. Calculate the cost per use. Before you buy any vehicle, look at the total cost. Dealerships want you entirely focused on the monthly payment, blinding you to the total cost, the interest rate, and the brutal depreciation curve. Reframe the purchase by dividing the true cost by how often you use it. Step 2. Embrace friction. Buy that reliable 5-year-old Honda or Toyota. Walk in with cash or pre-approved outside financing. If a dealership tries to slide a 72-month or 84-month loan across the desk, based only on a monthly payment, you stand up and walk away. Friction is your defense mechanism against impulse. Step 3. Treat yourself like a bill. When you save that $500 a month by driving an older car instead of a new one, do not let that money evaporate into lifestyle creep. Set up an automatic transfer the very day your paycheck hits. Move that exact amount into an index fund before you ever see it in your checking account. Your brain will naturally adapt to living on less without feeling deprived, and your wealth will build on autopilot. Step 4. Measure wealth by optionality, not accumulation. True wealth isn't a driveway full of depreciating metal. True wealth is measured by optionality. It's the profound freedom to walk away from a toxic job that is destroying your mental health, the ability to take a 6-month sabbatical, or the security to handle an emergency without an ounce of panic. The choice isn't between enjoying your life and building wealth. The real choice is between prioritizing the appearance of success through massive consumption versus prioritizing actual success through quiet accumulation. One path looks fantastic on social media for 3 seconds. It gets you validation from complete strangers at a red light, but it leaves you stressed, anxious, and chained to a desk until you're 70 years old. The other path is boring. It's unsexy. It won't get you any likes on Instagram. But the 5-year car rule is exactly how real generational wealth is built. It's built quietly, through automated habits, while you go out and actually live your life. The next time a car salesman slides a monthly payment across the desk that looks almost too good to be true, ask yourself one simple question. What does this actually cost me when it's all over? Because that is the only number that truly matters. If you are ready to stop playing the status game and start playing the wealth game, let me know in the comments. Tell me what car you're driving right now and if you've ever fallen into the new car trap. We've all been there, and naming the trap out loud is the very first step out of it. If this video changed the way you look at money, please hit that like button and subscribe to Money Magnet Minds right now. Your future self will thank you. I'll see you in the next video.